ask you, since you're there in California, what's your read on this Newsom versus DeSantis debate? Because I thought the zinger of the night was when DeSantis said, I was talking to a gentleman who had told me that he had left California because of the terrible policies. Well, it turns out that guy is actually Gavin Newsom's father-in-law. And when you're looking at things like the unemployment rate compared to Florida versus California, business formation, personal income, population migration, energy prices, taxes and spending, pensions, Medicaid, homelessness, deficit, student learning, hands down, there is just California is behind the curve, behind Florida. That was my read on a policy level. But what was your read on the debate?
Well, let's look at it from certain angles. I think in terms of substance, I think it was a draw. Okay, I think they both got some zingers in, and I think that that it was both. It was. I don't think anybody won. Now, if it comes to the expectations, I would say DeSantis probably won because I think just people knew Newsom was a skilled debater. DeSantis, even though he looks very wooden and still I don't think is very appealing, and I know he has no chance of being the nominee because of that. But I thought he was good in terms of thinking on his feet, and I thought they each had some good zingers. And again, I would say that in terms of the policies, again, you can argue, yes, Florida is better in some ways. And I think prior to the 2020 election, you could argue that you could have made the rest of the country like Florida. But then starting around April 21, right? A couple of months after the vaccines became available, that's when DeSantis started going off the deep end and becoming so Trumpy. And that's what Greg Abbott did in Texas. It started where he banned vaccine mandates, which is ridiculous. Who the hell are you to tell a business, the cruise industry, that they can't require vaccinations? Then he signed a 6-week abortion ban, and that's why, a bill that allowed 12-year-olds to carry guns without permits, which is why California has a 60% lower homicide rate per capita than Florida does. And California per capita has created more jobs. So you can make arguments either way. Now, do I have a real problem with both states? Yes, I think it's a perfect encapsulation of either things are too blue or too red. That's why I like states where you have a state like Kentucky, where you have a Democratic governor who just got reelected, who in a state that Trump won by 26 points, and things work. Because when you have, and Chris Christie, to a certain extent, did this in New Jersey, when you have a Republican legislature and a Democratic governor, or vice versa, as you do in New Hampshire, things get done because politics works the way it's supposed to work. But when you have all blue or all red, it's just not as good. I think we could agree on that, at least.
Well, I think it is good when you can have people talk to each other. I think that's good. And yeah, I think Bashir is more moderate as far as Democrats are concerned. And that is a more dying breed. So I would like to see more moderate Democrats, that's for sure.
And more moderate Republicans, both.
Well, yeah, and I live in Virginia, which, and our Senate just turned blue. Our House turned blue. We had a blue Senate also. So now both chambers are blue and the governor is red. So you've got a bipartisan state. And I enjoy living in Virginia. I think overall, though, Florida, like all those metrics that I did mention, totally beating California. And the fact that you're having so many high profile businesses moving to Florida, like Jeff Bezos, and now he wants to move Amazon to Florida. Citadel Financial from Chicago to Florida, a ton of businesses moving from New York and to Florida. So, and Texas also. When you look at the overall migration patterns during COVID and post-COVID, it's for the most part flowing away from blue states into red states like Texas, like Utah. Actually, Utah's been really problematic for my family who's been there for, now century and a half. My ancestors, the property values are being driven up to the point where my cousin and her husband, they have 2 young kids, like they had 6 offers rejected, whereas a generation ago, they could have had their first home very easily. So, and they're worried that they're going to bring the values that they're running away from to a red state. It's like, okay, let's connect. Why are you leaving your blue state? Because your policies are terrible, and now you're going to import those voting patterns here. It's concerning.
Well, let me say a couple of things. First, a point on what you said, and then an overall point on the debate. The reason people leave California is not because of high taxes. California, yes, there are some wealthy people that are leaving. That's true. But California's tax system is actually very progressive. The reason people, though it is high, yes, the reason people are leaving is because lack of affordable housing, which means cost of living. And I will say, being fair, blue states are the problem, because the main reason there's a lack of affordable housing in California is because many communities like Palo Alto and these communities in the heart of Silicon Valley will not approve multi-zone housing in so many neighborhoods. So you can't build affordable housing. That is the main reason people are leaving California, and California is to blame for it. Now, as far as the debate goes, putting aside the substance of the debate, I was so wishing that this was the debate we were actually having. Now, Ron DeSantis and Gavin Newsom would not be my two choices for candidates, but those type of candidates, governors, first of all, governors make better presidents than businessmen or congressmen or senators. Secondly, they are young, they are with it, they're not deranged, they're not too old, like the two candidates we have. One of them's deranged, one of them's too old. So, I just wish that this is the debate that America deserves, that I wish we were having. Two younger governors. And I'm hoping that after this, Trump will finally go away. And I'm still hoping that Biden's going to be replaced, but we can talk about that on another show.